put together a whole stack of things which you can work your way through, and when you run out of time, you stop using them and go into the prepared ending. So the next thing I would do is radio. Who invented radio? Who invented radio? Any of you know? No.
Tesla.
Tesla invented radio. Marconi stole Tesla's patents. And he got the patents, and the patents agency in the States threw out Tesla's patents. And so Marconi spent many years getting the royalties from the patents from all the companies that were designing and building radio sets. 1943, the American courts threw out Marconi's patents and gave them back to Tesla. Unfortunately, Tesla was dead. You know, and that's the way these things go. So that piece is a nice little lump, and all you've got to remember is radio. And so you can just do a piece around radio. It doesn't matter how long it lasts, it's up to you, but you can expand it if you wanted to. Now, moving on from radio, what's the next logical thing for radio? Remote control. I mean, everyone's got remote controls. Who invented it? Of course, Tesla invented it. And where? He invented it in New York, in Central Park. They had a boat, a model boat, which they put on the pond and sent it off, and Tesla had a box with a few knobs on it, and he steered it round and back to himself. What did they say? No. Trained monkey in that. No, it's a midget. Nobody would believe that Tesla had come up with something that you could operate from your hands. That was the first remote control created by Tesla. And they all said it was black magic as well. So moving on, what do you think would be next? Now, we've had radio, and of course everyone's got mobile phones, which is what were created from Tesla's original work. So what else have we got? Tesla was somebody who was very altruistic. He didn't want to get money for himself. One of his things was he wanted to give free energy. Right? Now, he got a large amount of money from Westinghouse, George Westinghouse, because Westinghouse used his patents to produce the induction motors that were being used for the generation of power. Now, AC is very important. AC can travel long distances without being recharged. You know, so if you've got DC, you have to have a station every so often to bring the volts back up to send it to the next one. That was Edison. He wanted DC. Tesla said, no, it's rubbish. And so Westinghouse said, you're right. And so they built all these wonderful machines. And the first what was it called now? Hydroelectric unit was built at Niagara Falls on the Tesla system, not Edison. Now, of course, Edison, everyone thinks of being a really, really brilliant inventor. No. Electric light bulb invented by Edison? No. He invented it as a co-operation with Joseph Swan in Scotland. So what happened? Edison said, yeah, we'll go together, join together. So they merged the companies. Within a few months it was, I'll buy him out. So he bought Joseph Swan out, stuck his name on it, Edison Light, from then on. Phonograph, remember the phonograph? Edison didn't invent it. It was invented by an Italian engineer who refused to give him the patents, and when he died, he bought them off his wife for a song. You know, but still, that's Edison. You know, there's more about him in a minute, because when we go on to some of our friends, the things that he did. Now, he gave the patents back to George Westinghouse because he couldn't afford it. He had this deal where he would get so much per kilowatt generated. Well, there were so many kilowatts being generated, it was making Tesla would have been a multi-millionaire if he kept it going. But he gave it back to George because he thought, well, you know, they need it to keep the business running, and people need the electricity, so he just handed it over. If you move on a little bit further, Edison, well, some of these things are just ridiculous. Edison didn't like Tesla's AC, he wanted DC. What did he do? To prove to everybody there is nothing more dangerous than AC. Electrocuted an elephant. Built the first electric chair to electrocute a man. Unfortunately, it took 20 minutes. So, Edison was not a nice man. Right, carry on to the other things. Now, see, we're working our way through these lumps. So the next lump is going to be inventions which people never, ever associate with Tesla. X-rays. Who invented X-rays? Not Rontgen. Tesla did the very first shadow graphs, they were called, and he thought that he didn't want to know, they'd take up too much time, he had lots of other things on, so he handed all the documentation over to Rontgen and let him get on with it. So they then developed X-rays. He also, now this is where it gets silly, First World War. He didn't die till 43, so he was at his prime. First World War, he said to the military people, tell you what, if you fire a radio signal, when it hits something, it will bounce back.
Radar.
Yeah. And so this was in the 1915-16. So he was saying this. Now what happened? It goes to the committee. Who's the chairman of the committee? Edison. So anyway, they had to wait till the Second World War to get our radar. Another thing that he developed is free electricity. Unfortunately, nobody really knows how he did it, but they have done some experiments and have got part of it working. What he said was, if you use the Earth's natural electromagnetic energy, you can make things work. You can use that electricity. And he put one of his big coils, the Tesla coil, and he switched that on, and then he had these lamps which were poked into the ground up to 4 kilometres away from the Tesla coil. They all lit up when they switched the lamp on, the coil on. And they've done those tests in America recently, and it worked. All the lights came on. Nobody really understands how to make it bigger so that people can make use of it. But the theory's there, it just needs someone who's intelligent enough and a team big enough to come up with how to do it. Right, so now we're running out of time. So, I don't give you any more, I move on to the last bit, the ending. And so the ending is on the lines of, well, I said that he'd changed the world. From what I've said, I'm sure you must agree that without Tesla, our world would have been very different. All of his inventions have, all of his inventions have something good about them. They also have something bad, usually Tesla's inability to make money out of it to fund the rest of his research. He lost so much money, he died a pauper. He died a pauper on his own in a room with his pigeons. And that was in the New Yorker hotel. He was just lucky that they let him stay there. So he was the greatest, but he's the most unknown of our incredible inventors. And I suggest that when you go away, look him up on the internet and see some of the things that he did, because I've only scratched the surface. So that's basically the speech. So you've got the opening, you've got the end, and in the middle there's all these pieces. You've got radio, remote controls, you've got Edison, the power station up in Niagara, the lighting in the ground, you've got all of these things, and each one is a separate item. And so you don't have to remember All you have to do is take the title, which is radio, and do something about Marconi and about Edison. Not Edison on that one, it was Marconi and Tesla, the two of them. Just do a piece around that. Now, they can be as long as you want, because you know you've only got a limited amount of time, so you maybe prepare 5 of them, and you may only use 3 before you're going into the end, because you've expanded it more than you thought you would. So this is very much what it's about. You've got to have it set up like, bullet points in your head, not on a bit of paper. You've got the bullet points in your head, and you just work your way through them. And as long as you've got a good start and a good ending which refers back to the beginning, that's all you have to do. You don't actually need notes. You don't. That's all I can say. I've run out.